Hello, welcome to Polynomics. I'm Paul AB. In this recording, I'll be making the effort to read from my book, The Competitive Africa. And so this video can be tagged Reading from The Competitive Africa. But just before I get to the reading itself, may I have the honor of getting you an idea of what The Competitive Africa is all about. The Competitive Africa basically is concerned with Africa's development challenges. These challenges, as frustratingly old as Africa itself, have deep roots in the singular phrase lack of competitiveness. And this lack of competitiveness is sourced from poor governance, which is governance that has little or nothing to do with the rule of law. I think that's the central theme the book is trying to put across, and you will have an idea of it in almost every chapter of the book. The book has 8 chapters, and every chapter treats this in its own unique way. And so let me get to reading first the preface and then to a page in chapter 1, all intended to giving you this basic idea that I'm trying to get across to the reader. And so I read from, but just before I do the reading, this is The Competitive Africa by Paul AB. It's a handmade edition and copy, and I'm hopeful that if you get hold of a copy and go through it, it will provoke your thoughts as well as inspire them in ways you would not even imagine. And so I go straight to reading out the preface to the book. The global economic system, without a doubt, has been carefully structured to facilitate and spread prosperity to every nook and cranny of the globe. Despite this well-intentioned aim, the rules of the global economy are crafted in such a way that only nations that have an edge in productive competition achieve prosperity, the ultimate aim of globalization. To compete effectively at the global arena, however, requires that nations have effective governance, coupled with superior education and training, science and technology, and infrastructure. It is for this reason that I personally consider The Competitive Africa as a suggestive essay on politics, governance, economy, and development in Africa. It is my strong take that Africa's rise in the global arena could emanate only from its competitiveness. Hence, The Competitive Africa is a hopeful attempt at redirecting governmental policy making to ensuring the entrenchment of competitive edge in these vital prerequisites for international competition. My aim, however, would be defeated if this book was thought of as deriding Africa and its people. Worse still, it will fail in its grand aim if it is subjected to the standard measurement of an academic work, as it does not make claims for academic scholarship. And that's the preface to the book. It gives you that idea about the book, which is that Africa's development challenges are rooted in lack of competitiveness. But then, as Africans, we have a way of thinking and saying that colonialism, imperialism, rules of globalization, these are the reasons as to why Africa is underdeveloped, or corruption, or any of these things, bad governance, any of these things as the reasons as to why Africa is underdeveloped. But in actuality, the root cause lies in lack of competitiveness, which comes from poor governance, and which again comes from inability to adhere to the rule of law in governance. And so even a factor such as corruption is only an effect. Corruption is an effect of governance that has little or no regard for the rule of law. So it's not a cause, rather it is an effect. Of course, that's not the point I'm dwelling on in the book. And so that is it. And let me get to reading a particular page in chapter 1. The book is an economic book without a doubt, but it begins with political literature, and that's because to attract sustained and quality development to a society requires that governance quality be scaled up. Governance has to be good, not just good, but extremely good for a society to have the capacity to attract sustained development to itself. So, I'd like to read this place that talks about the rule of strong men. Democratic rule, without doubt, has become the norm in governance. This edge it has over every other form of governance derives from its potentiality to offer succor to those on the fringes of society. More importantly, democratic rule offers the enablement to tame the uncontrollable human negative tendency of avarice through the mechanism of checks and balances. By virtue of its ability to provide wide range of protections, democratic rule has been widely accepted as the rule that guarantees the totality of the human dignity. These protections, embodied in the rights and freedoms enjoyed by the people, are made possible by the single most important pillar of democracy, rule of law. Evidently, the rule of law is a fundamental and inseparable feature of democracy. The rule of law basically implies that governance is rooted in laws rather than in men. Again, the idea of having its roots in the laws or constitution is for governance to effectively assert legal control over human discretion. In other words, democracy owes its sparkling form to the concept of the rule of law. Again, it is supported by principles such as supremacy of the law, the concept of justice, restrictions and discretion, and due process. Without all of these principles serving as live links to the rule of law, which in turn serve as a bulwark against misrule, democracy would be no more than autocratic. This explains the warning by Aristotle in his writings about the rule of law. And I quote, "It is more proper that law should govern than any one of the citizens. Upon the same principle, if it is advantageous to place the supreme power in some particular person, there should be only guardians and servants of the law." End of quote. Now, this all-important and long-standing warning, because it is unheeded by the operators of the political system, democracy would simply not work in Africa and produce the outcomes it produces elsewhere. That's a paragraph in chapter 1, again, making the point that lack of competitiveness, which is the bane of Africa's underdevelopment, roots